Student to my class. You are welcome to class today, and today we'll be looking at subprograms in Python and PHP. But today, so we concentrate on subprogram in Python. The last time lecture we looked at control structures. We look at under control structure now. It told us we have two categories of control structure, whereas we have selection structure, which we have discussed in the previous lecture, and we have the last lecture we discussed repetitive structures that are called loops. And today we will be looking at subprogram in Python, and next week we'll be looking at subprogram in PHP. So what are subprograms? Subprograms, they are often called function or method in programming languages. So subprogram, is a named block of code that performs a specific task, possibly acting upon a set of value given to it or parameter, and possibly return a single value. So subprogram, they are self-contained blocks of code designed to perform specific tasks. So, and they are a fundamental concept in almost all programming languages like this Python, PHP that we'll be looking into, because so that's why we can say they are a named block of code that perform a specific task and possibly acting upon a set of value given to it or parameter and returning a single value. So each subprogram has a single entry point, that is a starting point. So we'll be looking at the example of how they start, how a single entry point is being started, in how they make use of a single entry point in subprogram, with the example as we continue. So a subprogram call is an explicit request that the subprogram be executed. So when you call a subprogram, is an explicit request that the subprogram be executed, and when a subprogram is called, the calling program is suspended during execution of the call subprogram. So a subprogram save on compile time, that is, no matter the number of times it is called, portion are compiled only once for the page. So we can see that subprogram are saved on compile time, and no matter the number of times it's called, portion are compiled only once for that page. So, and now what are the usefulness, what are the improvements that subprogram have for our programming? So it can improve reliability by allowing you to fix any bug in one place rather than everywhere you perform a task, and they improve readability by isolating code that performs specific tasks. So they promote code reusability, organization, and readability. And we have some terminologies of subprograms. The terminology definition, the subprogram definition describes the interface to and the action of the subprogram abstraction. So the header is the first part of the definition. The header in the subprogram definition is the first part, so including the name, the kind of subprogram, and the formal parameters. And the parameter profile, that is signature of a subprogram, is the number. It can be the number, it can be order, and types of its parameter. And parameters are variables. They are variables or value passed to a subprograms. So when we see parameter in our programs, we see parameters as the syntax. They are variable values, so passed to a subprogram. So our function can come pre-packaged with programming languages, and those functions can be inbuilt function, and it can be user-defined function. And subprogram as well, they are in Python, they are called functions. Not even in Python, in PHP they are called functions. So subprogram in Python or PHP are called functions. And the keyword def, EFF, is used to create a name function. So when you see def you know that it's used to create a name function in our subprograms. And function definition gets executed just like other statements, but the effect is to create function object. So, and the statement inside the function do not get executed, and the function definition generate no output on the function is called. So it will not generate any output until you call the function. And the name of a function follow the name convention of variable name. So the first statement in the body of a function is usually a string enclosed in a triple quote. So we can see enclosed in triple quote, like like this single triple quote indicated here. So the body of a function is usually excluded. So that is the, we can say, is the block of code. It's always enclosed in triple quote, which can be accessed with function name, doc, and the statement is called doc string. And we can see what we are saying about subprogram, how it can be start with def keyword, using def keyword, and it's also often referred to as function. So we can see it here. We can see the example here. Def find average here. Find average is a function. Is a function name. So find average is a function name here, and the value you provide, or variable you provide, will be the parameter inside the bracket. In this example here, def find average bracket find average, which is a function. So and I told us that it will always start with the triple quote, the block of code. The statement will always start with the triple quote, and end with the triple quote, which we can say is a string words of string. So a function to calculate, like, start with the triple quote, a function to calculate the average of number and end with the numbers, and end with the triple quote. So average equal to 0, print average is comma average. So we are making use of a function, that is function calling the function. So by now calling the function, we have find average. So and function can also accept value to be used as part of their execution. Such value are stored in variables. So those values that used as part of the execution are stored in variables, and the variables are called parameters. So we see it from the example as we go on. Those variables are called parameters, and the parameter can be one or more. It can be one, it can be more than one. And Python return an error if the number of parameters is less than or more than the number specified. So that is, for example, the function specify 2 parameters and 3 is passed. So we can see from the example, we see what we are talking about. This explanation that how we can provide 2 parameters, 1 parameters, and the function can specify 2 parameters and 3 is passed. So let's see the type of parameters we have from here. Like, we have normal parameters. Function can accept value of any data type. Any data type like int, float, string, list, tuples, etc. as parameters. So function can accept value of any data type parameters. So let's see the example of the type of like this normal parameter we have. The example here, under the example code, we have def. So, and when I say tell us that subprogram, they are defined using def keyword. So def find average, inside the bracket is the parameters, and the parameters can be one or more than one. It can be 2, it can be more than 1. So, and those parameters, they have the variables. they stand as the variables. Those are the parameters. They are variables in subprograms. And I say normal parameters, they are value you must provide when calling the function. They can be of any data type. So we have from the parameter here, def find average, number num1, number1, number2. So starting with the triple quote, a function to calculate, which is the string words as a block of code, a function to calculate the average of numbers, and we have the average to be number 1 plus number 2 / divide by 2. So print the output, display the output, print average is average. So we call the function. Calling the function, we have the find average for 8. So by the time you call the function, you supply the value for the number 1, number 2, which is 4 and 8. So that find average 4 and 8, calling the function, which is the output, and the output by the time you print the average for that find average 4, 8, with the average, the output of that average will be 6.0, and that of the find average for the average will be 4.5 by the time we add 4 plus 8 divided by 2 with the average, and we print the average. We have float number, which is 4.2. So let's imagine we are calculating the average of two numbers. If the second number is not given, we can assume that it is default. If the second number is default, let's see that one, parameter with default value. So parameter with default value, function can have optional parameter that also called default parameter. Default parameter are parameter which don't have to be given. So default parameter, they are parameter that does not have to be given. The value does not have to be given, and it can be given as if the function is called. So it don't have to be given if the function is called. And in this case, the default parameters, default value are used. We can see the example here. The same find average, then find average. Number 1, number 2 is equal to 5. So the number 2 is the default parameter. So we can see here. So like in this case now that we have to have the default parameter. For example, sometimes when you define a function, you may want to provide a default value for one or more parameter. And for instance, if the caller provides a value, that value is used. So if the user provide a value, that value is used. And if the user or the caller does not provide a value, the default value will be used. The default value here will be used. So now we can see from the example here that here we have the find average number 1, number 2 is equal to 5. That means the caller provide a value, and that value is going to be used. Number 2 is equal to 5. So we have to calculate a function to calculate the average of numbers, and the same average, number 1 plus number 2 divide print average. So we call the functions, calling the functions find average for 8, the same value for 8, which we have like here we have find average 4. That is, the default value for number 2 is used. So the number 2 is used. That's why the find average here is 4, the value of only 4. The default value for number 2 is used. So we make use of the value for number 2. So now let's see another parameter list. We want to look at another parameter list. So for that of the parameter list, we have the like this list. We have the asterisk args inside the bracket. There are many situations in programming in which the small number of necessary parameters cannot be determined parallel. An arbitrary parameter number can be accomplished in Python with so-called tuples reference. An asterisk inside a double quote is used in front of the last parameter name to denote it as a tuple reference. So parameter list is what if you don't know how many numbers the user will give. For instance, you don't know how many numbers the user will give, that is writing the program. So we make use of the asterisk args. So the asterisk before the parameter, like this one now, like this the example here, define average. The asterisk before the parameter num, asterisk before number num inside the parameter. It means it can take any number of value. That is what that means. That parameter asterisk number num. So it can take any number of value. So and Python store them in a tuples, tuples. So and we can see from the example here, define find average asterisk starting with asterisk number. So that means like the double starting with triple a function to calculate the average of number, sum equal to 0, and if length number equal to 0, return is 0. S for number in number sum plus. So all this, and by the time we find the average, we print average itself. So we calling the function. So find average, calling the function find average, we can see that it works with only nine numbers. So given 9 numbers, when the user supply numbers of value, here we from this average find average, we supply like 9 numbers, and from the second function calling this function find average. So 47843, we can see the user supply 5 numbers. With work with 5 numbers here, find average. So and the first one find average work with only 9 numbers. So we can see that the function, it can give us 2, 5 or 20 number. It just depends on how we handle it. So that is how it is. So this kind of parameter list, AGRS, so it is a flexible number of input that if you don't know how many numbers the user will give you can use asterisk args. So and the other one is keyword parameters. Which we have the two asterisk kwargs. Using keyword parameter is an alternative way to make function call. It's an alternative way to make function call, and the definition of the function doesn't change. Keyword parameter can only be those which are not used as a position argument. So keyword parameter, I will say they are named optional parameter. They are named for optional parameters. That is, sometimes you may want to pass parameter using their names and optionally change only some of them. So we may want to pass the parameter using their name and optionally change only some of them. So we use these two asterisk kwarg as keyword argument to do this, and we have the example under the keyword parameter. So we have the find average, the same one, num1, num2, num3 to be 8, num4 to be 8. This one more similar to a default parameter, the number 20 is almost similar to that, because we are provided with number num3 to be 8, num4 to be 9. So, and we have a function to calculate the average of the same number. So average, print average to be average. So calling this function, we have find average 2 5 and find average 4 7. So that 2 5, calling the function find average 2 5, use default number 3 to be 8 and number 4 to be 9. So we use number 3 to be 8 provided and number 4 to be 9 provided as our default value, and find average 4 7, number 4 to be 5. That means number 3 is 8 default as a default value and number 4 is changed to 5. So we had no keyword parameter. For instance, if we had no keyword parameter, the second call to function will have needed all 4 arguments, even though the number 3 needs just the default value. So the keyword can also be of any length by using the asterisk, the 2 asterisk inside the double quote before the parameter name. We can see it from here, from the example. So Python arguments are passed by assignment. So they are passed by assignment, and if we change the value of the parameter within a function, the change is reflected in the calling function, and the result of the computation in a subprogram might be needed in the calling program. The return statement is used to return value from a function, and the return statement takes 0 or more values separated by comma. So, and default value is known to return multiple value using a tuple or. So we have the example here. We have the example define find average is a example num1, num2, and a function to calculate the average. So we print after calling the function average, find average, the same value provided for it, print the mean of the distribution is average, because we have already returned average. We have returned average, and when we print by calling the function, so the print will be the mean of the distribution will be average, that average we have returned. So, and that special Python function in Python called lambda. They are functions that have no name, that is anonymous. They contain only expression and no statement, and occupy only one line. So those functions that have no name, they contain only expression and no statement, and occupy only one line. We can see from the example there, they are convenient to use, and lambda can take multiple arguments and can return like a function multiple value. So we can see the little code here, determinant, with the example of a quadratic equation determinant lambda abc. So with the equation value and print determinant. So when we supply the value for the abc, so we have the value for the determinant to be 4 5 6. So